Hello everybody, thanks for joining me again. I've come down to Hisley Wood this morning and I'm going to take a walk down the valley to Hisley Bridge. It's somewhere on Dartmoor I haven't been before, so this is going to be another exploring trip. The sun's just coming up and hopefully there's some nice woodland shots. Anyway, let's see what we can find. Well, as you can see, I made it to the bridge. It's a lovely spot, and this is the classic photograph that everybody takes. But as I'm here, I'm going to have a go at it. There's only light on the tops of the trees up there at the moment, but that does mean I can slow the exposure speed down a little bit here, so probably around about 1/8 of a second or something like that, just to make that water in the middle appear with some movement rather than being frozen. Well, you can see what I've got framed up. If I just brighten it up a little bit more just so you can see it. I'm at f11.8 of a second, ISO 50. I'm focusing on that tree that's in the water in front of the bridge. Let's see what I can make of that. Well, a good start to the day. I think the shutter speed of 0.8 of a second works well, and you can see just enough movement in the water. The colours look good. I like the tree in the water leaning into the composition. I like the way your eye is led onto the bridge and over into the distance. Not a bad start. So let's zoom out all the way to 16mm. Just check the focus again. There we go. Same settings. Well, I would have liked to have got a wide angle shot on this, but 16mm was all I had. Again, nice shutter speed, good colours, and I quite like some of the trees in the background in this one as well. Certainly other compositions to be had with a bit more time. Okay, let's move slightly and see what other compositions I can find, even just by moving slightly up or down, side to side. Sometimes can make a big difference to the composition. Well, as you can see, I've moved around to a different angle, but I can't find a shot as good as the first one, so I'm going to take a walk through the woods and then wait for the sun to come up and see if I can get some more light on the bridge when I come back. Before I moved on, I decided just to take this shot of the bridge with the obvious leading line over the bridge to the signpost in the background, just in case I didn't return. And I quite like the story this tells of the footpath into the distance. Well, this is quite a walk through the woods along the river. As you can see, lots of moss on the trees. The sun's up. Some cloud just keeps covering it every now and again. I'm not going to film too much. I've just got my long lens on the camera, and I'll see what I can find as I walk around. I have seen some dippers, but I don't think I've got some very good shots of those. But with all this water and the woodland, I'm sure there'll be more to see. Well, walking along, the light coming through the trees and these puddles down the muddy track were really interesting, so I took this shot at 70 mils, and these were handheld at 500th of a second. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. And this one was more of a surprise with the shallow depth of field. Getting low to the puddles, you can get the reflection of the trees above, and you can see the bokeh of the light coming through the trees. And you can just make out a couple walking along the path in the background. Wow, what a lovely find. Lovely cascade going down the river. I'm not going to stop and photograph anything. Just nice sometimes just to walk by and enjoy it. I'm glad I left the longer lens on. I just saw a dipper upstream, and hopefully at least one of the shots I've got will be in focus. As I was walking along the river, I saw dippers at least 4 different locations. I found these pair gathering nesting material off these mossy banks and then flying back down the river to wherever their nest was. Zoomed out all the way to 350 mils and quite a high ISO at 6400. And the same with this one. At another location, the usual pose with the dipper sitting on a rock. Still a little bit grainy because of the ISO, but not too bad. And then finally got this shot, probably the sharpest of the day. I haven't cropped in too far. I wanted to show the water. And at ISO 5000 thousandths of a second. Not a bad shot. Well, I did say I wasn't going to stop and take a photograph here, but just coming a little bit further upriver, got this lovely cascade here. Some sun coming through. With that sunlight, I couldn't resist, so portrait shot. Just wait for that sun. Got a polariser and a variable ND filter on, and got a ½ a second shutter speed. Well, this is a really nice shot, but I'm just waiting for some light to come through the trees. There we go. You can see some in the middle of the shot. I haven't done anything with the polariser yet. I don't want to take all the sunlight out, or all the reflections out. That looks quite nice. Just check the focusing. F11. 2-second timer. How does that look? Well, the answer was not that great. There's just too many twigs crossing the picture, and you can see the rock in the bottom just draws your eye. And okay, the river leads into the distance and there's a little bit of sunlight, but not too much going for this photograph. So I tried something a little different. So just zooming in a little bit more to get rid of the rock. Yes, there's a few twigs in the photo still, but I've lengthened the shutter speed to 2.5 seconds, which has made much more of a feature of the water. It's much whiter, much better composition. So definitely a place I'm going to come back to. That cascade was just below this footbridge, which is at the top of the walk. And I'm going to head, I think, up onto the moor now and then back round. But we'll see. I know I've gained some elevation. But I think I'm not going to use the old clam bridge. Not with all my camera gear on my back. I'll take the safe option and use the footbridge. Well, the clam bridge itself was a nice subject, so I took this shot with the camera as it was. I was on my wildlife settings, so thousandths of a second, which pushed the ISO up to 3200. And you'd think the shot would be a bit noisy. But once I'd noticed that, I sorted myself out. Turned the shutter speed down to 100th of a second, which meant the ISO was at 400. But to be honest, I can't see too much difference in the noise in either of these photographs. In fact, the first one's slightly sharper, being at 1,000th of a second. I must have been moving slightly when I took this one. So I'm climbing up away from the river through the woodland, and there's some lovely big old trees here. A few of them unfortunately have fallen down in the recent storms, but still, I could stop every 5 minutes and take photographs, but I'm going to head on and explore the whole trail first, and then maybe head back another day and pick off some of the sections I want to photograph. I did stop and take one photograph. I really quite like this oak tree, and it seems to be growing over or leaning on the boulder on the bottom left, and then with the ivy going up the trunk on the right. I just saw quite a story here, and I'll probably come back and try and make a nice photograph of this later on. As I said, some of the bigger trees have come down, and this old one is almost blocking the footpath. While I'm walking through more of the managed woodland now, as you can see, they've been in clearing up some of the fallen trees from the pathways and roads. Shame to see so many of them down. I've come past maybe 4 or 5 of them just in this small stretch. but it's very boggy underfoot, and with that strong wind, probably to be expected. And as you can see, there's still some work to do to clear all the paths. Well, I've made it back to the bridge, but the sun is quite high in the sky now. I'm going to try and take some more shots from around the bridge, but I think I'm going to struggle with the shadows when I try and keep the highlights down. So this time I've put my 16mm Sigma lens on. Although my Sony 16-55 is a very good lens, somehow I feel for these scenes this 16mm does a better job. Got a polariser which I've taken most of the reflection out of the water with, and I've got a little bit of an ND filter on as well. As you can see, I'm at 1 second, ISO 50, f11, focused in, right in the middle. Let's see what that does. Well, as you can see, different from the photographs I took at the start of the day. A lot more contrast in this. Lots of dark shadows under the bridge which were difficult to recover. A little bit more colour, which was nice. And some nice shadows. But not as good as the earlier photos. Okay, I think I'm going to call it a day and take the short walk back to the car. Hope you enjoyed the walk around Hisley Wood and the river. If you did, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to the channel, and then hopefully I'll see you again next week. But for now, cheerio.